Raising a Bernese Mountain Dog from puppy to 10 months old. When we decided to get a Bernese Mountain Dog, we found a breeder in Council Bluffs that had puppies. We bought tons of supplies, everything from food bowls, puppy wipes, shampoo, waste bags, to an assortment of toys. We actually sent the moose toy to his breeder in advance so that he would have the scent and familiarity of his siblings and mother once he came home with us. We wanted an older name that also sounded a bit quirky. Both my wife and I being teachers, we had troubles finding a name that didn't have a student's name attached to it. We settled on Oscar, which was the first real name he was ever given other than Blue Mail on the breeder's website. He seemed to like it instantly. When we got home, he was very tired. Much like infants, puppies sleep a lot as well. He would sometimes spend as much as 2/3 of his day asleep. He especially liked the cold tile floor, so much that we even made him his own tile floor so that he could stay cool but also be in the living room with us. After about the 3rd day at home, he got much more social and playful. He had tons of toys from PetSmart, but his favorite toys, oddly enough, were a wire hanger and any and all of my socks. After about a month or so, he even got bold enough to sit on the couch without permission. My wife's compromise for her getting the big dog was that I would get a big truck. From the start, it was clear that Oscar absolutely loved riding. He sat in the front seat until he was so big that he started setting off the seatbelt alarms. He then moved to the back seat and even learned how to roll down the window. He loves putting his huge head out the window. Potty training was tough at first, especially living on the 3rd floor of an apartment. We had a lot of accidents, and our toughest part was going in the kennel. One of the best tricks we ever learned was that if they are going in their kennel, start feeding them in the kennel. They won't go potty where they eat. Also, the puppy pad holder was a must once he started thinking that it was fun to chew up the puppy pads. Leash training wasn't all that difficult, though with a big dog we learned that retractable leashes made him feel like having constant pressure on the leash was normal, so he tugged and pulled a lot. Otherwise, he loves walking and seeing other dogs on his walks, especially in the extremely cold temperatures. We had a lot of bowel issues with his food, so we eventually landed on Purina Pro Plan as recommended by our vet. This worked really well. In addition, big dogs can throw up at night if they're really hungry, so we found that giving him rawhide chips right before bed tended to hold him over and get him all the way through the night peacefully. Teething was a tough time. He chewed on everything, especially his wire hanger. He was restless and uncomfortable. Worst of all was the smell. His breath was awful to the point that our whole house would smell like dead fish. Once all his baby teeth fell out, his breath went back to normal, but those couple weeks before that were absolutely terrible. Bath time has never been his favorite activity. It takes both my wife and I to hold him down. Usually we're both soaked, the bathroom is practically flooded, and it's a miracle that we got all the shampoo out of Oscar's fur before he jumped out of the tub. The worst part is it takes a good 8 hours for him to dry due to his double coat. At first he didn't like to cuddle because he would get too hot. After some time he decided he liked to cuddle. To get him to sleep at night, my wife and I would take turns sitting on the kitchen tile with him, petting him until he fell asleep. In addition to cuddles, he's very helpful when anyone falls down, as he promptly sits on them to be sure they're okay. Oscar's always been a highly social puppy. He loves other dogs, especially his best friend Raleigh, who lives on the 2nd floor of our apartment. We have many friends we see on our walks, but his favorites are Huskies, Great Danes, and Labs. He loves the dog park, going to puppy daycare, and spending time with my father-in-law's Bernese Mountain Dog Bentley as well. One of the first things I did to socialize him was take him to school with me. My one-act crew loved watching him so much that they scheduled their 15-minute breaks so everyone got one-on-one time with him. In addition, his favorite person is my sister's boyfriend Dalton, in the green, who came to let him out at lunchtime every day while we were at school. Dalton even taught him how to fetch. Oscar liked the holidays with our families, though he was not as keen on the idea of dressing up for it. My wife bought him doggy hats and such to wear, which he promptly shook off as soon as she put the camera away. What he did like was all the presents. He had lots of toys and treats from my wife's family in the doggy exchange. It was so much fun that he was absolutely worn out by the end. Oscar has quite a few things in his routine. Every morning he starts by hugging my wife. He always has to get his rawhide by 9 p.m. on the dot or else. And even at night, he wants to sleep in the bedroom, but by 1 a.m., he wants out to go to the kitchen, so he'll jail rattle on the bars of his wire pen until my wife wakes up and moves him. We've been sick a couple of times. First was a bug sting that swelled up his face. He cuddled for hours while recovering. He was neutered at 7 months and had to wear the cone of shame for a week. Shortly after, though, he came down with kennel cough, which is about 3 days of him hacking up gunk every 10 minutes. Otherwise, he's had some mild allergies, but with his meds, he's happy and healthy. At first, the shedding was fine, but once his puppy fur went out and the adult fur came in, shedding was terrible. Usually his hair falls off in clumps, which is easy to clean up, but twice a year he blows his coat, and just brushing him every night for a week or more results in having enough hair to fill an entire trash can. I even had to cover the back seat of my truck because the shedding was so bad. Through the puppy stage, he had his share of destruction. He ruined countless pairs of socks, my wife's Michael Kors flats, eaten an entire oven mitt, torn apart a box of plastic bags, chewed on the baseboards in the kitchen, and even chewed a lamp cord in half. But the worst thing is he's torn all his toys apart. However, now that he's getting to be an adult, it's getting better. Because of his size and muscular build, he can pull my wife around the yard with ease. Needless to say, we had to get a harness for him. After trying a couple different ones, we settled on the far right one. It's the most comfortable and seems to keep him from being able to pull better than the rest. And believe me, it may be a hassle, but it is worth it. Currently, Oscar weighs an estimated 115 pounds at just 10 months old. He's going through another growth spurt, eating upwards of 12 cups of food a day. The vet thinks he might get as big as 150 pounds. One of the greatest parts, though, about his size is he's still super friendly and highly protective of my wife. All in all, he's pretty much perfect.